have it close to the mouth so it, you know,
Okay.
can hear best as possible there. Let's see. All right, we don't have weather here. Let's see, we definitely need to adjust our barometer. Oh, the other thing I did not mention, you can put these more forward if you want like more air on you.
Okay.
Yep. That's something you can always adjust. Let's see, we have the barometer set, frequencies. So I was figuring there's a lake out in Alabama that's not too far, and it's fairly pretty over there. So that's set there. We'll say we're going west, so we'll say 4,500 is what we're going for our cruise altitude. We're all set there. Throttle to idle. Landing light is already on. We don't need nav light. Noise cancellation. Good there. Next way clear. Radiant tensions. Park and brake off. All right.
Stockmar traffic, Weiss 89 Charlie Sierra, taxiing 28, Stockmar.
We are going uphill here a little bit, and I have to stay below the 2,500. Let me see if I can actually get going this way. The trick my instructor taught me. Kind of wiggle it. Sometimes you can get to go. Once we get above 120, we can use more power. So we're already starting to go. And once you get going, it gets a little easier, so. That guy always parks his truck like out there in the middle, and it's like, dude, like, I can't taxi past you once you put your truck there, like, just put it on the end. But he's also a Cirrus pilot, so.
Gotcha.
All right. There's kind of like a, I guess, it's kind of like inside weather, but Cirrus pilots, like, you know, they're like, I don't know if they have to have a cheaper one. I know like the main SR-22 at least is like $1 million, 1.2 million or something like that. So they're, you know, and they have a parachute, and people always get onto them for using the parachute, which, I mean, like, shoot, like if you have a parachute, you know, might as well use it. But people, like, you know, kind of tend to, you know, like if somebody's not doing good, they'll kind of act like, oh, it must be a Cirrus pilot.
Stockmar traffic, Weiss 89 Charlie Sierra, back taxiing 28.
All right, looks clear over there. Looks clear over there.
Approaching runway 28. Entered runway 28, 3,300 feet remaining.
All right, we're hot enough now. We can go a little faster. One thing with this one, you don't want to get going too fast too, because it has such a slow takeoff speed that it could theoretically, if you got a good draft, it could pick you up.
Yeah.
All right.
Approaching runway 28.
All right. All right, parking brake is set there. So what we're going to do, we're going to check that basically all the engine systems are working the way they're supposed to. So we're going to go up to 4,000 RPM. Not too high there. There we go. Close enough. There we go. And we're going to turn off our Pier 1. Plane A. Good there. And we're looking for less than 200 increase or decrease on our RPM, so that stays in the right range. Make sure lane B turns off there. Good to go there. Now we're going to check our fuel pumps. So we also have redundancy there. Fuel pump 1 is looking good, with both still in the right range. And with only fuel pump 2, we're also good. Okay. And we take off with both. All right, seatbelts already on. Doors are closed and latched. Yours is not in the door, I assume, correct? The latch at all? Mine actually is. So I gotta fix that for mine. Is yours in the door?
No,
Yep. Alright, flight instruments look good. We already did our barometer sign there. Still looking right there. We're on 1200. We probably won't get flight following. Third fuel valve, we're running off your side, mine is closed. That looks good. Yep, that's the correct side. Alright, flaps 10 degrees. And elevator trim. That looks about right. Wingtip landing lights are already on. Let Kara know. Alright. Alright, good to go there. We're going to look for traffic. State our intentions. Our board point, we might be past, a little bit past the parking brake, or not the park. I was reading the next one. Past the first taxiway, but we shouldn't be much beyond that. Alright, and parking brake off. You good to go?
good to go, man.
Alright.
Stockmark traffic, light sport 89 Charlie Sierra, departing 28, going to be departing to the west. Stockmark.
Entered
Alright.
runway 28.
I see
4,100 feet remaining.
Compass lines, here we go. Alright, 100 to go.
Skyview has disconnected.
Stockmark traffic, light sport 89 Charlie Sierra, turning right, crosswind 28. Stockmark.
Alright, fuel pump 2 coming off. Well, not fuel pump 2 yet. Full back power. Fuel pump 2 off.
Stockmark traffic, light sport 89 Charlie Sierra, departing to the west. Stockmark.
You're good to talk now if you want.
Okay. Yeah, this is a cool feeling, very different, but it's awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing, like with this point, like you can't beat this point for you know, like being able to look out stuff. People say, oh, I've flown before. It's like, it's very different with, especially in this one versus, yeah, some of the more confined type planes.
Right, yeah.
Out over there, that's Paulding County Airport.
That strip along there, over there?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very different how you can feel. It feels very different from a normal plane.
Yep.
So how many feet are we right now?
We are 1,200 feet above ground right now.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so going back to, you know, the thing you were asking, like if the engine were to go out, that basically you want to have like a nice buffer there, right? So like if something were to happen, because the higher you are, then the more you're able to, you know, have more options for where to land.
That's wild how far you can see.
Oh, I know. And today's actually kind of, I mean, it's not really bad, but it's more hazy. Like I've had a few days lately, it's like, wow, you can see everything.
takeoff was the strangest feeling out of all of it.
Yeah. And that was a slower takeoff. This plane, a lot of times, like you don't have much time to like like check, make sure everything's good. But on the positive, so like you don't have much time before you have to pull back. But on the plus side, you have a lot of runway still remaining, so it's a good thing. But
Yeah.
it definitely takes some getting used to compared to some airplanes.
Yeah, like I said, the smallest plane I'd been before, I think it was a 6-seater.
Okay. That's
And-
hilarious. They had a flight attendant on though.
Yeah, no, it was one of my favorite memories because she was just like sitting, she was essentially like sitting, like looking at us.
Uh
And she was just like, you want something to drink? Had a cooler.
huh.
Like, she didn't get up, you know?
Yeah.
But the pilot was like, you have to sit here and you have to sit here, you had to like weigh us out and everything.
Yep. Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. Even I've heard a few times, even with like if the flight's not full, I've heard even like the big planes, like occasionally they're like, "Sorry, everybody, like you're gonna have to switch your seat because, you know, weight and balance." So.
Wow. And it was hot.
Was
it?
it?
The hottest flight I've ever done.
Yeah.
So it was in Phoenix, and it was like in June or July, so
Oh yeah.
already it was hot.
Yep.
And then they were like, it'll hopefully get cooler when we get in the air, and it didn't. It just got,
Ouch.
yeah, and like there was like a lady with a baby next to me just screaming the entire time.
Man.
Phoenix to LA, man.
Wow.
But, you know. It is really weird to be this high and realize how much is actually undeveloped.
And that's yeah. My neighbor said the same thing. Like, because people were like, "Oh my God, like there's so much stuff," and like you get up here and you're like, "Green."
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's kind of weird to look at
I
because it's
know.
like, you know, like we're over in Dallas and you're thinking like, gosh, everything's so built up.
Yep.
And then you get up here and it's like, oh, it's not.
Nope.
So when it comes to like flying around cities and stuff like that, like what limitations do you have?
I'm trying to think. I don't think there's any real limitations there. Like there's like some visibility and cloud clearances that are kind of more just generalized, but otherwise like the main things are like you have to have like sign off for like a towered airport, something like that. But I've done all that stuff. Like I've flown over Hartsfield and stuff like that. So yeah.
Oh, really? So you can fly over Hartsfield?
Yep. Yeah, it's a fun flight. Yeah, I took up a kid on my that was on Jonah's baseball team that works at Delta,
Approaching altitude.
and he was like, it was so cool to see him. Like, we were flying over, and he was like, that's the hangar I work in. Would you like to fly at all? Or are you good?
I think I'm good.
All
Just
right.
like want to enjoy it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's your birthday, man. Happy birthday.
Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate this. This is awesome.
Yeah.
This is Bill, about 94, left cross 118.
Yeah, it is so weird how like flying doesn't bother me, but I am terrified of heights.
Yeah, I know.
Altitude.
Yeah, likewise. I feel like I've gotten better as I've gotten older, but yeah. It's like I'm good up to about 10 feet, and then once I get above that, I'm like, okay, like.
Well, that's like the weird thing. I used to not have the problem with heights, and now I do.
Right.
Like, I don't know where that came from.
Interesting. That's a bit of an issue with at least the on set type of thing too.
Yeah. So, you know, I've heard the radio a little bit, is chatter and stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, so if we want to, we can actually monitor. Normally I would do like a flight plan, or not a flight plan, a flight following.
Yeah.
But it gets a little more complicated when you're just going somewhere, like we're not landing somewhere.
Right.
So I didn't bother. But we can still monitor.
Okay.
This is Atlanta approach we're on now. So you'll hear like Delta and stuff like that with the planes coming in.
Now, if they need to notify you just because of anything, do you hear anything, or?
No, like, you know, like,
7360 Tango Delta, climb and maintain 9,000.
so that, you know, like they might try and call you, like if, like for example, if you're in the Bravo airspace,
Yeah.
and you don't have permission, they might try and call you either on one of their frequencies, or technically probably all of them. And then also 121.5 is like the emergency frequency. So they might try and call you on that, but for the most part, like you don't, like, at least in non-towered airports, you don't even have to like make any radio calls if you don't want to. So it's stupid, but it's legal.
Wow.
Yep.
So what's the prettiest area you gotten to fly over?
Probably the Keys. That was really pretty.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else.
Yeah,
I mean, like, there's all different things. I like the area, like for the mountains. I like like there's an airport just into North Carolina that I took my. Actually, do you know Alex Danzer? At church. His parents are Susan and Russ Danzer. Yeah, Russ was like over like the kids program stuff.
Yeah.
So he's actually trying to get his license. So I've flown twice with him now. I'm actually going to fly with him up to Oshkosh,
Okay.
which is up in Wisconsin. But yeah, so we flew up there, and yeah, so I've been there twice. I took my friend Danny up there as well. It's a really pretty area.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, like each area has like its own things that are really pretty or like that. Like it just depends on like what you're, interested in or like that, So
That's awesome. But like Wisconsin, what is that? Like at least like a 4-hour flight?
Oh no, way longer than that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I think it's like 11 maybe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's a long way up there. And that's the thing, like, so like, like this type of plane is, maybe it might be less than that. I might be wrong, but I want to say it's 11 hours. Like, like this type of plane is like better for like that shorter length of like, like if it's like within like 2 hours, then maybe like driving's a better option. It's like that 2 hours, so like I would say like maybe 6 to 8 hours,
Okay.
like drive. They're like where like like really, it's a good option, And like I mean, obviously you can go on like I want to eventually, try and do like a cross country type thing.
Yeah.
So it's it's totally possible. It's just you're not going to get there as fast as if you went commercial, right? But for the shorter type ones, you can actually get there faster than like a commercial flight.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, like how long does it take to get like somewhere like Jacksonville from?
I mean, so like Destin is like one spot me and Kara have talked about going to. I think that's like an hour and a half, something like that. So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So Jacksonville's probably about hour and a half, 2 hours.
Probably, yeah. Yep.
Now, how long did it take you to get your license?
So I started beginning of 22. And then I was ready, what was that, like, was either May or June, I think? I think it was May, like, I was ready. But then, I don't know if you remember Kara had all the stuff, she was in the hospital and stuff like that.
Maybe that's what I was remembering.
Yeah, so like that was all crazy. So I you know, kind of put the pause on things and then got my license in August. But that was with me, I was mostly just doing it like, usually once like a week, if that, obviously with weather.
Yeah.
And part of the reason for that was because, you know, obviously we're Dave Ramsey people, so like we didn't want to go into debt to get a plane. And so we had to save up for it. So I knew, like, you know, like, and renting's really not much of an option for light sports stuff. There's just not a lot of them. And so yeah, basically, yeah, took it slow, which I was fine with. You know, like I think it takes more hours. Like the more you can compress it together, the faster you can. Yeah, I see it. Like the more you compress it, the more you're going to retain it. Because like if you're going a week or 2 weeks, like, or even like worse, like I think I had like a month one time where it was just crappy weather the whole time. So like once I got back in the plane, it's like all right, let's start back over here. Like, you know, because it's just, yeah. So, but you know, like on the whole, I feel like it kind of worked out because like you get more experience that way. So.
You said the place we're going to is in Alabama?
That's correct.
What part?
So it's like, this is like the border here, so it's, you know, it's pretty much like right across it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
0 and 3,000.
Yeah, so right now our airspeed is, let's see, so it's not, so like times 1.15, so like say around like 125, 130 knot, or 130 miles an hour. But our ground speed, because we got a 25 knot wind, is about, so about 150 miles an hour we're going. And let's see, we're burning 4.5 gallons an hour, so we're doing about, in miles, we're probably doing about like 25 miles a gallon. So
It's not bad at all.
no, this plane's very economical.
Now, is it the same kind of fuel you use on a car, or is it a different type?
So this one can use MoGas. Most planes need avgas because of the octane rating. This one actually technically all engines, if they could, would prefer not having to run off of lead gas. But this one definitely, I try to run off of MoGas as much as possible. So.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a, you know, obviously plane ownership is not cheap, but it's, as far on the scale of things, it's definitely at near the bottom, you know. Like you have like the ones like you saw outside, that Challenger type plane. That's like the, you know, even lower. But I feel like you have a lot more safety in something like this versus something like that. So
it's weird, like technically miles per gallon, it's about the same as driving a car for your destination.
But you're going there like twice as fast, yeah. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
still have signal.
You don't have signal?
Oh, I do.
Okay, yeah. Well, because we're low enough, yeah.
That's why I was like, sure I don't, but.
Yep.
So when all your training, do you have to like learn how to like kind of read the air? I guess that's the only way to, or like how the air is working, or.
Yeah, definitely weather is definitely a big component. Yeah, and obviously, like, you know, I mean, like, you're super spoiled in this plane. Like, you know, I can pull like the weather, you know, for the METARs for different places or like that. You know, generally the way you would get it, if we were landing, is like you would get, you know, like they have like a frequency for a weather broadcast. You would be listening to her like that. That's the primary way, and then yeah, like with pre-flight, you know, you're looking at the weather there as well, obviously, but in the air, like primarily, you're looking at either on this like you know, data coming in from the airports, or technically like there's also like radar, which actually, yeah, you can see like a little bit up here. There's a little bit of weather. But you know, for the most part, you know, that data is almost always a little bit delayed. So like the primary thing is you're looking out and you're seeing what the weather's looking like. Like for example here, like I'm noticing like we're starting to get like some more cloud buildup. I think we'll be fine because like I think it seems like it's building, but we'll be, you know, we're almost to the lake already anyway.
Okay.
So I can see like if we're going further, like right, that's like IFR there. So it must be like, actually we can look. So the weather. So yeah, so the clouds are only at 900 feet above ground level there. So it's, yeah, it's pretty much like a solid layer.
So when it comes to your license, is it pretty much like you can fly through visible, or can you fly by instrument only, or?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that sucks. That's probably the biggest thing that sucks with the sport, is there's no path for getting your instrument. And the thing that's annoying with it is that, you know, the instrument rating makes you a much safer pilot. Like you look at the figures for, you know, an instrument pilot versus a non-instrument pilot for their safety. Instruments definitely much safer. Because like one of the main ways that I mean, I guess there's a lot of them. Like, there's things like in the traffic pattern. I guess I would say one of the main ways outside of the traffic pattern that, you know, with DEFs is like, you know, accidentally going into clouds. You get disoriented, you know, and instead of looking at your instruments, you know, you're feeling like these senses in your ear. They're telling you one thing, right? And so then, like, you know, it basically, you know, you lose control of the plane. So, yeah. Yeah, so that's one of the biggest things. Like, if I could, I totally would do it. And I've actually been taking some lessons with a CFII up at McCollum Airport.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, like, you know, so I want to do like some more like where you can have like foggles, where basically like this is the only thing I can see, right? So I have to fly just via this.
Gotcha.
So I want to do some of that, and so I can like have like some practice of like if I was to get in clouds in this plane, because I've done it before for training, but I haven't done it at this point yet. But you know, basically kind of going through the steps. If I was in clouds, what would I do? So doing some of that, and then like maybe eventually, you know, maybe trying to do like some, even though I can't get my instrument rating, still like doing some like instrument flying like in like another plane that's qualified for that.
Right.
So that then I just get like kind of that experience, you know. So. Definitely more gray over here.
Yeah.
It's like a really funky looking lake.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what. We have to drive to Alabama a lot for work.
Okay.
So that's why I was kind of like Wondering where this was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so let's see. So that's Talladega there.
Okay.
Yeah. And Birmingham's over there. And then Huntsville's up here. So, yeah. Kind of in that general vicinity.
Yeah, we went to a town. You ever been to Anniston? Where Fort McClellan used to be?
I don't think so.
Fort McClellan's this massive army base that got abandoned by the army.
Uh-huh.
And they were looking at us trying to get there to film, and a wild looking place.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I'll have to show you pictures when we land.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The other thing, if you try and get flight following over here, I've had it happen twice. It seems like they put you on the frequency, or like there's, you know, a lot of times you lose them because basically like the radios are line of sight. And so like, you know, if you get on flight following, and I didn't realize this the first time it happened, but thankfully I stayed on. Because basically like, you know, it's kind of like if they don't hear back from you, they're going to send a search party out looking for you.
Oh, wow.
And so, which I didn't realize that at the time. And so like, you know, like that's the other thing with coming over here is like with flight following is that if you lose them, then like now you have to try and like climb up high enough in order to, you know, for them to be able to hear you.
Huh. So weird how everything looks just so small, because I know that lake is massive. I've driven around it. I'm like,
Yeah. You've driven around this one, you're saying?
so yeah, this, I think
it's Weiss Lake is what it's called.
yeah, we've been over here. Crystal and I did some exploring over here at one point.
Okay. Yeah, it's a nice area over here.
It's a big lake.
It is.
Now, is that an airstrip down there?
Let's see. I think it should be more. Maybe you're seeing. Oh yeah, that is the airstrip there. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep. I was actually literally over there last Tuesday doing with that CFI,
Okay.
doing some training.
So what are their like standards on, like, I know that with commercial pilots, like they always wanted people with like perfect eyesight and stuff like that. So what is the eyesight deal with this? Do they check for all that?
So I'm trying to think. So the way it works, you know, so I don't have a FAA medical. So basically my I just realized I feel like I wonder if that's an airstrip there. It almost looks like one. Like it must be like private because I'm not even seeing it listed. So basically your driver's license, right? They're doing a vision test for that.
Right.
So like basically if you get your driver's license revoked, your pilot's license, you know, you also can't fly as well, right?
Okay.
Is basically how it's kind of working. Yeah, so the regulation I was talking about that potentially could allow me to do 4-person planes.
Right.
Called Mosaic. There's also potentially some stuff with, you know, like potentially would be able to fly at night as well with a sport pilot. But the funny thing with it is they require a medical for that. And, you know, they're basically, the whole thing is just based off, well, what if you're colorblind, which I still really don't get, you know, with that, like what the thing is there, because it's...
They check for color blindness?
They do, yep. And actually after the first of the year, they actually made it way harder. You have to do like, you used to be able to do like just like a little book. Now it has to be like this online thing. And so like now all these doctors are like having to pay all this money for it, and it's like, you just made this way more difficult. So, actually I wonder if that's a drag strip. Do you see that there?
Yeah.
It looks like a runway, but I don't think it is. It's a good spot if I ever had to land.
Yeah.
We're starting to build up some here, so I'm just gonna hook it here.
Okay.
Start heading back this way.
Switch fuel tank.
Let's see. Can you actually reach back and push that up?
Push it.
The handle up?
Push it up.
The red one right there, yep.
Up.
Yep, good. And then I'm gonna do this one here, make sure everything stays good. Yep, good there. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the road Crystal and I have taken to Birmingham when we haven't gone down 20.
Okay.
There's like a back way you can go.
Yeah.
We were doing a lot of work for some political stuff in Birmingham, and then Crystal and I go to a music festival out there every year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. You still in the metal stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you, do you remember the band Bleach?
I think I've heard of them.
Like the 90s, like alternative Christian band? Yeah, we're going to watch them next year.
Cool.
0 is 7 miles to the southeast, doing maneuvers at 500 feet from the...
The cool thing now is the fact we're turning back, we actually now have a tailwind, so you can actually go even faster than your airspeed or your ground speed.
Oh, wow. By looking at the lake, and it's wild that you can see the bottom of the lake.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
See like everything. I'm like, that's weird. So do you ever practice at home on any of the flight simulators or any of that?
You know, it's funny, I have one, and I've done a little bit, you don't get the feel of the plane, so it's more good for like procedures. But then the thing is, obviously, like the procedures, like, you know, the flows and stuff on this are going to be obviously different than at the house.
Right.
So like, if you don't have the plane, like it's
Leaving altitude.
it's good, but it's, you know, you could probably actually go ahead and climb. So we're technically kind of about where we need to be there for power. So you know, it's good for like for procedures or like that, but it's otherwise, like, you know, it's not the most useful.
Yeah.
Just because you can't like feel the plane.
That makes sense.
One thing I have wanted to do actually though, I guess besides procedures, is like radio communication. That's always something I've struggled with. And so, yeah, I've thought to like, there's what I think one was called VATSIM, and there's some other ones as well. But basically, like you have actual people that act as the controllers or like that. So I thought that would be really helpful for trying to get better with that. I guess the hard thing there, right, is like if I have some free time. I guess it would be like if I have some free time, and the weather's crappy out, like then it would be a good option for that. But usually, like if the weather's crappy, I'm usually like on my list of things at the house like I get done anyway. So it's harder to prioritize. I guess is the best way to say it. So. At least we have really stable air today, which is nice.
Yeah.
Usually you'll at least get like a little something, but this is like smooth as glass.
Yeah, the weather's been wild recently.
Yeah.
Rain almost every day.
I know. Cloud's really funky looking, like right there. You see it? Like it's.
Yeah.
Autopilot. Autopilot mode.
For stuff like this, the autopilot really isn't needed, but for like when I've done like some of the long cross countries or stuff like that, it's definitely nice for that.
Approaching altitude. Autopilot mode.
So what got you to want to start flying?
I mean, I think I've always been kind of into it. It's just one of those things that like, like, well, so I took a flight, a discovery flight in,
Autopilot mode.
when was that? In 2015, I want to say, at Macomb actually. But the place I went to was like super disorganized. Like I remember like the owner of the place was like screaming like that the fuel trucks taking forever. Like it's just very chaotic. And then the pilot, he let me take off. But then like he was like saying I was doing like everything wrong. It's just like very critical. And so it was like one of those things like it wasn't like I was like, I never want to do this. It was just more of like a, like putting on the back burner type of thing, And so then I, eventually, actually, the thing that really kicked me over the finish line or not the finish line of, doing it was, I actually was working at Masterclass, and they had, what was it? Like most companies have like a thing of like continuing education, like where like, if it's related to the job, they'll pay for education, right? But theirs was really different in that basically they would give you, I think it was $1,000 a year for you to spend on any type of learning. And I was like, any type? Like including like flight lessons? They're like, yep. And so like, I basically did it like at the end of the year. you know, I got $1,000 there and the $1,000 at the beginning of the year. So that $2,000 was kind of like the thing, like the jump starter, like the thing that finally got me the you know, push forward with it type of thing. So
That's awesome.
yeah, yeah, I love it. That's one of the things, like, you know, talking about the job stuff too, like, and you know, I think it's like a very niche type thing that I'm, you know, looking for, but like, you know, it would be nice to be able to have like a more like an aviation software type job or like that. I just think that'd be cool.
Right.
The thing with that though is a lot of that stuff is more
Autopilot.
more like, you know, low end, you know, stuff like for this, like this isn't running like most of the like iOS or stuff like that. Like it's running the low end like C or C++ or like those lower end languages. And so, you know, like what I would ideally like is like something more like ForeFlight or something like that, of like it's more the, you know, consumer facing, like, you know, higher level type stuff.
Right.
So we'll see whatever happens with that. I actually have an idea, like an app I've been working on, you know, on and off for like the past year or so. But again, it's hard to prioritize, especially like when, like, you know, like you work on some and it's, you know, it's a lot of hours, and like, you know, you do it for a little bit and then just trying to get back into it, you're like, okay, well, where was I? So that's something I know I do need to prioritize. You want to get a picture together?
Sure.
There. I do like, I don't know if you ever watch or see my Facebook posts. I just do like a Facebook post a lot of times for my flights.
Yeah. That's all. So have you ever taken anybody up that's gotten pretty nervous up here, like had a rough time flying?
No, thankfully so far, yeah, I you know, obviously part of that is like, you know, not taking it up on days like where it's bad weather like that.
Right.
Like what was it? Probably the most turbulent, or well, other than Jonah. So Jonah's I guess the worst. Like, you know, so I guess that probably is the most, that type of experience I've had, and he did pretty good. But beyond that, the other thing I was originally thinking of was with another friend that's a pilot, a sport pilot as well, and like we got some decent turbulence, you know, like for one part of the flight or like that. But you know, like if you're used to it, you're just kind of used to it. Like it's not the most fun, but
Right.
it's like, yeah, the plane is definitely capable of you know, not caring about the turbulence as much as you know. So it's yeah.
Crystal was so funny about this. She does not like planes.
Oh really?
No.
Like even like commercial ones? Yeah.
I don't think she's done it much.
Okay.
Where like I go on a plane and most of the time I'm asleep before the takeoff.
Nice.
Like I'll literally just put on music, cause like, especially when you're doing it a lot for work.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if there's movies, yeah, I'll watch a movie, but there's a lot of times where I'm like, yeah, this gives me like a 3-hour nap before.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, like we've flown out to places and it's like, we'll leave out at, you know, the day. And when we get there, we might get there at 6 in the evening, but there's a good chance we're going to end up working till midnight or 1, setting up for the next day.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
So like, you kind of learn to prioritize, like, I got to rest.
Yep. When, like, what's the call time the next morning after that?
Usually 6.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So usually you're looking at 6 or 7 call time, and you know, but the thing is like Because somebody was asking me why I would do that, and I'm like, the pay is awesome, and on the days where you fly, you get half your rate,
Oh, nice.
and you're not doing anything. You're just sitting on a plane.
Right, right. Nice.
Half a rate for me is $500 a day, so
Yep.
it's getting paid to sleep on a plane.
Yeah, totally. Although it's funny, like sometimes I feel like those days are actually, I feel more tired after that versus the days you're actually doing something.
Yeah, well, there was one day, man, where I was in Seattle. We were doing a documentary out there, and I was supposed to, the flight back was supposed to be from Seattle to Atlanta.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we're gonna have to fly to San Francisco to change you over. I was like, all right, no worries. So they changed it. They go to San Francisco. I get there, they're like, hey, you got to go to Dallas now. So what was supposed to be
man.
like, you know, just a flight from Seattle to Atlanta,
Right.
I ended up spending like a day to almost a day and a half in airports
Wow.
for changeovers,
Yeah.
and that was more exhausting than the shoot itself.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I know. Yeah, because like if you just have like one long thing, like you say, where you can fall asleep, but like if you're having to change planes and like go through all that, and just like the stress of like making sure I don't miss my flight and like all that, like it's, yeah.
Yeah, and well, like I have to carry a special case with me because we have batteries that we use,
Right.
and they can't go under the plane.
Yep.
They have to stay with me.
Yeah, right.
Really pretty up here, though.
It is. Yeah, I was sold on this plane like the first time I went flying it, like flying over like a lake and like you could see like the birds like right below on the water. I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. Yeah. Got some traffic above us, but I think won't be able to see them because they're through the clouds. Must be on top of them.
Where do you see that at?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
Technically, let's see, you can see them on yours right there as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's definitely I made flying a lot safer is the, I think it was 2019 maybe they made it mandatory. That you have to have ADS-B output. So like basically like, you know, my plane is sending a signal telling this is where I'm at, you know, this is my altitude and stuff like that. Because before it's kind of like you just had to like see and avoid, and to be clear, you still have to do that. But you know, in general, like most of the traffic is going to show up on there for you. So, and the thing that's hard, it's hard to see, like even like big planes, like, you know, they look so tiny until you're like right up on them.
Right. So when you fly to places like the Keys, do you have to stop and like fill up somewhere?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember for that one. We filled up twice going. And technically, I would have had enough fuel to get down there with one refueling. This one has a really good range, like it's around like 600, 700 nautical miles. But it's kind of one of those things like, you know, I tend to try and have a good amount of reserve for fuel. It's basically kind of like I can't remember how exactly my instructor said. Basically, like, you know, fuel gives you like options, right? Like if the weather's like, you know, crappy or something like that, you know, you can divert somewhere else, or like, you know, it gives you time. Like, okay, let's reassess. Like, we're not in a hurry. You know, like we have time. Like, let's just You know, so whenever possible, I like to try and travel with some more fuel. Now for weight and balance like type stuff, like sometimes you can't take full fuel, but otherwise it's, you know, generally speaking, you know, try and keep as much on you as possible. Alright, I'm gonna turn fuel pump 2 back on. Brake is off. Brake's so good.
Autopilot mode.
No, let's do.
Autopilot mode. Guess we can look at weather. Well, our airport doesn't have weather, but we can look at Paulding. They're saying no wind there. I've noticed it always seems like it says no wind there, so I'm wondering if they actually have an issue there that they're just not saying. Although it is a pretty low, Bravo in 5.9
low
miles.
wind day. Let's see, theirs is 2504 knots and not much wind there either. Might land on 10 then. So each runway, well, pretty much every runway has, you know, 2 different runways, right? So you have facing one way, so 280 degrees is kind of like where you're taking off from, and then the opposite is 10. But the thing with 10 that's nice, with if there's no wind or low wind, is the fact that it's going uphill, so you can still stop in less distance than you can with 28 going downhill. Alright, we're on our frequency there.
Backmark traffic, light sport A9 Charlie Sierra, 10 miles to northwest, 5,100 descending. Going to be joining the left downwind for 10 on a 45 entry. Backmark.
Alright, so 5,000 is our altitude there. We actually probably can pull some power. This is the our airport's under the Bravo, kind of called a shelf because like it's the air space is above us. So we got to make sure we're below 5,000 for there, and we got to be below 4,000 for there. So either descent a little bit. Alright, so let's actually put her down to pattern altitude, which is 1,800. We'll pull some more power.
Autopilot disconnect.
One thing that does kind of suck with our airport is like, so all these other ones, like you can see them real easily from far away. Our airport, because of all the trees, it makes it hard to see it until you're like literally like right on it.
Oh, okay.
The one of the guidelines there, the power lines I know is pretty near those power lines. So it should be somewhere out in this area here, but active on 2 is on, yeah. Alright, we are below 4,000, so we're good for that airspace. Might be the airport right there. Gosh. Come over this way. Yeah, that's the airport there, okay. We're good. Gotta get down a little bit lower for pattern altitude.
My traffic lights for 89 Charlie Sierra. Going to be entering left downwind for 10 on 45 entry. Stock mark.
Alright. Like I said,
altitude.
you really don't have a lot of traffic around here, so that's what's nice with it.
Stock mark traffic lights for 89 Charlie Sierra on the left downwind 10. Stock mark.
Alright, let's slow her down. Alright, parking. Not parking brake, laps.
Stock mark traffic lights for 89 Charlie Sierra, turning left base 10. Stock mark.
Leaving altitude.
Alright, second notch of flaps.
500.
I think it was just a little power.
Stock mark traffic lights for 89 Charlie Sierra, turning final 10. Stock mark.
Overshot a little bit.
Short final runway 10.
Alright, we're high, so we're going to slip it. Alright. Welcome to Stockmar Airport. We hope you enjoy your time.
Landing seems very different than this.
Yep.
Very different sensation.
Yeah, it is. Let's see, it looks like that guy is gone. That's good. Go straight here then. Alright.
Oh wow.
What's that?
Just how quickly the propeller stops. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Wow.
Take those.
Alright.
You can open your door if you want.
Alright.